Hello, and welcome to the virtual celebration of the 2020 Biz New Orleans Executives of the Year. I'm Kim Singletary, Managing Editor of Biz New Orleans Magazine, and on behalf of our presenting sponsor, Sternberg, Knackery & White, and our supporting sponsor, CPA Realty, we'd like to thank you for joining us. Each year, the editorial staff of Biz New Orleans looks back at the past 12 months in search of the standouts. The people who have grabbed the big titles, made the big deals, and pushed our region forward. But this year was different. Given the wide array of challenges the pandemic has brought to so many industries, we looked instead for the helpers, the people leading their organizations to aid others, and those who have risen to the challenge to use this time to innovate, to think a little differently about how things have always been done, in order to help our region be stronger for the future. In this virtual celebration, we're excited to share a little about each of our Executives of the Year. And as a special bonus, I'll share a little virtual sit-down I had recently with our 2020 CEO of the Year, the New Orleans Business Alliance's Quentin Messer. Michael Williamson, President and CEO, United Way of Southeast Louisiana. Andrea Nicia Morris, CEO, Housing NOLA. Guy Williams, President and CEO, Gulf Coast Bank and Trust.
Oh, wow. That's a lot. Funny enough, I just read this year, The Bottom Billion, and it is a really interesting and controversial and somewhat problematic book about so-called developing nations and how many people are struggling in that bottom billion, the 20% of the world's population that is, living in desperate poverty. And one of the things that's controversial about it, in my opinion, is that the book doesn't entertain the notion that these kinds of conditions could exist in Western communities.
Not a huge podcast guy, but more recently, and this is a book I read quite a while ago, but I'm rereading it. It's a book by Peter Block, and it's called The Answer to How is Yes. And it's more about finding purpose behind things rather than out of the box asking, how do I do it? What's the cost? What's the ROI? So it's kind of a book you can use on the professional and personal side.
Actually gotten off of social media and have gone to BBC World News in the morning. And what I find is there actually is not really much breaking news. You can get wrapped up in trying to follow things all day, but it's a lot better to get an early look. I find BBC to be fairly neutral, and also it gives you a view on the rest of the world and sort of how the world sees us. So I start with BBC World News and then The Economist. And those are the ones that I found most helpful for our business.
Well, it's kind of actually the question's really timely because of, and go figure this, but because of our work around, addressing the issue of poverty, and which kind of, caused us to put a lot of attention on the issues around financial instability. I just started listening to a podcast from, and I have to look at his name because I can't always remember it, but Ajay Banga, who is the CEO of MasterCard, who's done a recent podcast on financial inclusion and the digital divide, which is even more timely given COVID-19 and just challenges around digital literacy. And something that stood out for me is, and this is more of a global issue, but out of 7 billion people in the world, 2 billion people either underbanked or unbanked, which means they don't have access to mainstream financial products and services like credit and credit cards and bank accounts, et cetera, which just creates lots of challenges when you're trying to capitalize a business. So,
professional side, the podcasts and the books that I've been enjoying are, I enjoy some of Tim Ferriss's podcasts. He typically has interesting thinkers on. I've been studying a lot about Ryan Holiday's philosophy and approach to life. He's a Stoic philosopher, and he's a great writer, particularly in all times, but particularly with what we're going through now with COVID. I like Simon Sinek's books, and I will typically not listen to a podcast that it's not his podcast, but if I search his name, Simon Sinek, I pretty much listen to almost everything that he's on. I'll read a lot of Malcolm Gladwell books. I read Blink every 2 or 3 years. I don't read a lot of technical business books. It's more about business theory and philosophy. And I also make it a point to read the book Good to Great almost once a year. And every time that I read that book, I learn something new, a new wrinkle that I might be going through in my career that is relevant to something in Jim Collins' Good to Great. So that's probably the most influential book I've ever read professionally.
One of my team members gifted me over the summer, which was during the height of the pandemic, if you will, with a book entitled Leadership in Turbulent Times by Doris Kearns Goodwin. So I have really enjoyed. It's a very thick book. And as a person who's not a cover-to-cover reader, I take different chapters by chapter to fit or suit the circumstance.
I have to tell you that I get the most inspiration from the reading that I naturally do. It's less than professional podcasts because I do a lot of webinars and WebExes and virtual meetings. But for me, the inspiration comes from the fact that I read 5 to 6 hours a day minimal. I read a lot of Plato, I read a lot of Shakespeare. I'm doing a project in Hellenic studies and Hellenic civilization right now. I spend an hour every morning at 5 learning Latin, and I'm going back to my roots in school, and I'm doing a lot of reading in 19th century Russian literature, and I'm enjoying a book right now that's about the editor of Turgenev and Tolstoy and Dostoevsky. And so I have to tell you, the things that I read are things that open my mind and really keep me sharp in thinking about how to do my job better, as well as how hopefully to be a better human.
Somebody gave me a while back The Power of Now. And so I've really been into it and sharing it with a lot of folks. So that's been a really good one during COVID, I must say. And I am almost always reading some biography of Eleanor Roosevelt, and I'm doing that again.
And believe it or not, I am reading The Power of Now. Someone gave it to me during Katrina. And wow. I read it back then. And COVID came along, and I decided, okay, I'm going to brush this off again and start reading it. And it's a fabulous book. And sure enough, T, actually for Christmas, gave me sort of like the little small version of it. I call it like the Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
And so it's a wonderful book right now. And I also started a book called More Beautiful Than Before. And it's by Rabbi Steve Leder. And it's talking about enduring suffering and, getting to a better place through suffering. Huh. And it's a wonderful, wonderful book.
Robert LeBlanc, founder and creative director, LeBlanc & Smith. Dr. Chandra Williams, CEO, Inclusive Care. Greg Stock, CEO, Thibodaux Regional Health System.
You've done a lot of things. I know Wally, we'll talk about those too, but part of it for us was really sort of fanning the flames of entrepreneurship on our team. And we just had this motto that we're going to come out of this thing better than before and helping as many people as we can. And, I think we've really done that. But we also took the opportunity to look inward and look at the things that we in our industry, need to work on, whether it's pathways for a more diverse group of people, and all sorts of things. And so it's been a good time for all those things. And we're having some great success and being very intentional about those things. So it's been fun to watch the team really grow and gain confidence as they've done these things.
Mm-hmm. And to add on to what T's saying, talking about our team, we've come up with these amazing projects one is the Zoom, our the wine and cheese party that saved Wednesday night, which has been a great success and a whole lot of fun. It's even going national one Wednesday a month. And we've also been doing mail order food with a catalog company by the name of Goldbelly.
Oh, you're aging yourself calling it a catalog company.
Thank you, see she's always got my back. So it's called Goldbelly. It's I don't know what it is, but it's been very helpful, and we've been mailing a lot of food across the country. And then of course, we opened Le Petit Bleu, which is our to-go. It's right in front of the accounting office. And as she likes to say, we kicked our accountants out and pushed them back in office. And we've been wanting to do a to-go type of a venture, and this just pushed us into it.
Yeah.
So those were three situations that have come out of a horrible one.
Yeah.
I think real change and real evolution in how you approach tasks, be it in your strategies or your tactics, come when the landscape underneath your feet is unsettled. So what it's done for us, it's given me an opportunity to get our staff cross-trained. And so we've been cross-training our staff across all the various platforms in our office. That has been tremendously helpful. It's created greater team cohesion and unity. But on the outside world, to fulfill our mission of keeping the brand of New Orleans at the forefront nationally and internationally, and maintaining us as top of mind for all of our customers, whether they're booking now or not. What I've made sure that we do is that every member of the team has been assigned to develop deeper, more full relationships with their customers. And as a result of this, I think what we're going to come out with is a reputation of being the most advanced, highly communicative, most deeply invested destination marketing organization in the country.
As someone who's committed to leadership development, I have enjoyed or looked at this as an opportunity to grow my leadership skills. I enrolled into Harvard Public Health course for leadership and specifically healthcare leaders. It really helped me in amazing ways. One, I was able to network with colleagues across the world, not just the US, but across the globe. And they were challenged by many of the same things that I have been challenged by.
I think that our company, and maybe hospitality in New Orleans in general, we own restaurants, bars, and hotel now. And so we were probably a little fat. We weren't running as leanly as we could be. Sales were always good. So you make decisions that are not necessarily the smartest financial decisions, and you justify it for other reasons. And when this pandemic hit, sales literally went away. So you had to immediately analyze expenses and keep only the most essential expenses. And so we use this as an opportunity to really tighten up our models. But what we've done more importantly is we've used this as an opportunity to redefine how people who work within hospitality live their lives. It gave us an opportunity to just stop and to retool everything. And I think for a long time, people have succeeded in hospitality at a tremendous cost to their personal health, happiness, and relationships. And what we'd like to see happen is that people can flourish in hospitality to the benefit of their personal health, happiness, and relationships. And so we've taken this approach to redefine everything in how we staff our places, how we develop people. Basically, we treat everyone like a leader now. So everyone is included in the leadership meetings. We talk strategy, we talk marketing, we analyze financials all together. And we really want to take a lead in professionally developing people in hospitality.
I'm particularly proud of our response to COVID-19 and our efforts to address the challenges facing hospitality industry workers. And so within probably 10 days after COVID really was gripping our nation, we created the Hospitality Cares Pandemic Response Fund in partnership with the Louisiana Hospitality Foundation, and we ended up raising $2.4 million, and we provided $500 in emergency crisis grants, cash or direct deposits into accounts of hospitality workers to over 4,800 workers. And as a leader, you have to be able to envision what that would look like, but you have to have a really, really stellar team to be able to execute. And we did that almost to perfection.
Commitment to make sure that everyone who wanted a PPP loan, which is the government's program to support small business, got processed. And there was a time period when our folks worked 24 hours a day. But I'm very happy to say we were able to process all the loans that came to us. Everyone who qualified was approved. And even though it involved working literally 3 shifts, 24 hours a day, we got everyone done. So very proud of that. The bank grew very rapidly by over $275 million. So that was an opportunity out of adversity, but it was also a chance to help people who really needed help.
Well, you know, as operating the healthcare system, we've had a number of challenges in dealing with the pandemic. I would say the great opportunity is when you can find common purpose within your executive team. So as I think of all of our hospitals, we came together pretty quickly and we're centered around one mission, and we took advantage of that through incident command style management, which is really effective. And we've kind of captured that, and we're going to continue to use it.
When the pandemic hit, like I mentioned, our work is around ending housing insecurity. We have a really bold strategy here at Housing NOLA. We believe, we know, we can prove that we can end the housing crisis here in New Orleans. It's going to require discipline, it's going to require will, but it is absolutely possible. And COVID opened another window for that path. It demonstrates clearly that not only can we must end housing insecurity if we are going to address the modern disaster crisis. If it's a hurricane or a pandemic, we need to make sure all of our people are housed. And so that's allowed us, with our work, to pivot.
And now for a special treat. I'm always excited to get to chat with the New Orleans Business Alliance's CEO, Quentin Messer, as he always has so much going on to help our region. For the CEO of the Year interview in the magazine, there was so much to cover about 2020 that we didn't have time to get into talking about the future. But as we've now moved on to a new year, I asked Quentin to share a bit of his thoughts on the future of the region and what the New Orleans Business Alliance has on their to-do list for the future. Quentin, I'm so excited to congratulate you again on being Biz New Orleans Magazine's CEO of the Year for 2020. This was definitely a year like no other, and we typically honor people who were the big deal makers and, you know, the big successful entrepreneurs. This year, we wanted to call attention to the people that were really the helpers and really the ones that were assisting our economy, our workers, just everybody who lives here in a very difficult time. And this is something that NOLA BA has been doing long before the pandemic came, and since you took control in 2015, and that's helping the economy to work for everyone and not just certain groups of people. You guys were the first local entity to set up a direct relief effort with the launch of the Gig Economy Relief Fund on March 16th, which started with a $100,000 contribution from NOLA BA, and that grew to over 1.5 million. And that's given a lot of relief to our gig workers, and then an additional 150,000 in funding to other local not-for-profits to assist with their fundraising. You guys have helped small businesses navigate the federal funding issues and created a bridge loan program to help out and to get them over those tough times while they waited. And the hospitality program that you guys created to help out-of-work hospitality workers get some paychecks by working with our community food banks. The outdoor dining program that you've helped administer with the city, all the way down to well, not a small thing, but helping with 52,000 masks to people who have needed it. And that's with a diminished staff, like a lot of people are working with this year, of just 22 people. And then in the midst of all that, as an economic development organization every year, you graduated your first Invest NOLA class, which is an executive education program for high growth entrepreneurs of color with revenues of over $1 million. NOLA BA has really stepped up in 2020, and that's even more than usual at a time where everybody's really needed it. And so that's why we're so excited to honor you and all of your team at the same time. We wish we could have all of you guys in one screen there. But one thing we didn't have space for was to talk about the future. And now that we're in 2021 and everybody's so hopeful, but it's been a rough start. And I wanted to talk about, what does this look like for NOLA BA for 2021 in the future? And I know you guys are, as we've said many times, unapologetically New Orleans, and here to really take the economy to the next level for all of its residents. And I wanted to just start with that. And what can we expect for 2021 going forward?
First of all, Happy New Year. Thank you so much, Kim, and the entire editorial team and the business team, Todd, and everybody at Renaissance Publishing. Thank you. I have to say I'm honored, I'm humbled, I'm challenged to do more. As you mentioned, this recognition is not mine alone. It's obviously our team, our board. We are a public-private partnership, so we are funded in large measure by the City of New Orleans, Mayor Cantrell, the City Council, as well as national foundations and local businesses, big and small. So this is really a collaborative effort. So I'm very grateful. So I'm relentlessly optimistic about 2021. Look, we got off to a very difficult and tragic start. So we can't ignore that. But I think in a way, the tragedy in Washington refocuses and necessitates us to really understand what leadership, what words, what allowing emotions unchecked, the negative consequences. But it's also a moment to show the durability of the American model. And I think locally, that speaks to the durability of New Orleans. You say we're unapologetically New Orleans. Well, we're unapologetically New Orleans because history has shown that New Orleans is remarkably durable. Yeah. That when people counted her out, there she was. When people said it was over in the 60s, there she was. When people said it was over in the 80s, there she was. And people, obviously the tragedy of Katrina and Deepwater Horizon, and now we're dealing with this consequence on our economy. We're still here. And the thing that gives me great energy is that people want to engage with New Orleans. People want to be here. People want to visit. People want to go to our institutions of higher education. And parenthetically, I think we have to better leverage that asset, those assets, better. And that's something that we're going to focus on as a part of our broader 10-year aspirations. I think we also have to be more forward-leaning in dealing with where the economy is not necessarily today, but where do we anticipate it's going to be 10, 15 years down the road so that we can prepare for that. And we certainly have thought. So I think that really 2021 allows us an opportunity to address, I think, the four major challenges raised in 2020. One, public health. It's not just COVID-19. What COVID-19 sort of unmasked was health disparities, chronic mobilities, people living below their, where they were potentially destined to be because of health and treatable health conditions. The second thing, we have to continue to deal with the racial reckoning. We have to deal with disparate wealth and income opportunities for BIPOC communities in a majority person of color city. It will keep everybody poor if we don't address that. Mm-hmm. Third, I think we have to deal with extreme weather and climate change. Another thing that probably raised red flags and will be challenging for us is the fact that we had one of the most active hurricane seasons on record. And it was not only were we dealing with the consequences of COVID and that interruption, but we had to be interrupted from that interruption by, okay, shelter in place, power loss, you can't do this. Oh, maybe this weekend is the big one. That leads to the fourth crisis that I think we have to respond to, which is a mental health one. And I think we as business folks have to, and all of us, as all of society, have to come to grips with, we're all diminished when we don't allow people the space to find and seek out help and healing. And we need to treat mental health challenges and illness the same way we would treat cancer or diabetes or any number of things that make all of us have special challenges.
So what does the action plan look like for NOLA BA for this year? I know you guys have done so much in 2020. I'm assuming some of those programs are continuing because the need is continuing. Yes. But even outside of that, what are some of the things that you guys are looking forward to this year?
Yeah, so it's a great question. So we will continue programming such as our Resilient Corridors Initiative, which we launched at the end of 2020 and in the last quarter. Also continuing to work with the city of New Orleans on outdoor dining grants so that we can help that really challenged sector. But I think big picture, there are 4 things that the Business Alliance is focused on, and this is a work in progress. We've got to present this fully to our board. We have to make sure that we have the endorsement from our investors. One is we want to make sure that people can access New Orleans without necessarily coming to New Orleans. And what I mean by that, there is an opportunity for businesses, whether in the restaurant sector or the beauty sector or the music sector. How can we take advantage of the virtual environment or the product environment and allow New Orleanians and New Orleans entrepreneurs to make money on that? We need to make sure that our BIPOC entrepreneurs understand that and have access to the technology and the tools. That's a big part of what we're doing with the Resilient Corridors initiatives. Make sure that technical assistance, that professional support to help them grow is there. So that's part one. I think is something that we need to do candidly. Probably, I think we should do it always, but I think be really focused, because I am not confident that we're going to start seeing large meetings, large conventions until the end of this year at earliest, but more than likely next year. So that's kind of, I would say, in the immediate and near term. Mm-hmm. Long term, the Business Alliance is entering its second decade. And I think by the end of this decade, we need to show demonstrative progress in 3 areas. One, how do we leverage our assets in health? 2, medical schools within the city of New Orleans, one of only 17 U.S. cities. If you count the physician finishing partnership between Oxnard and Queensland University of Australia, just across the parish line, that's 3 within 15 miles. That is unmatched in the Deep South, that type of horsepower. How do you make sure that horsepower translates into companies and entrepreneurial ventures and employment for New Orleanians? So we have the only dedicated professional economic development professional focused on bio-innovation and digital health, Jeanette Wiley. She's doing a tremendous job. So we want to come along and support her. But we want to do it in the service of addressing some of the disparities that made New Orleanians, because it's a predominantly person of color city, more vulnerable to the scourge that is COVID-19. So we not just want to be focused on things that are going to benefit the economy. Yes, that's important. But economic development only matters. The economy only matters to the extent that people's lives are better and augmented because of it. The second thing you're going to see us very focused on is climate change and extreme weather. We understand where we are. So what we want to be able to say, and we received a 5 in partnership with the city of New Orleans, Youth Force NOLA, and other community partners. We were able to win $5 million from JP Morgan Chase. We're grateful for the advocates at JP Morgan Chase. Shout out Erica Wright and others on the team who really pushed and advocated and worked with us on the application. But what was the point of that $5 million? Blue and green infrastructure to help us not only live with water, but live comfortably and be a model to others. We have to figure out how to take what we have, the challenge what we have, and create an opportunity of it. I mean, for years, we've been talking about making Louisiana, the Netherlands of North America, we now have a chance to begin to really accelerate that progress. And that leads to the last sector, which is higher education. When all other sectors were grappling with how to function close to 100% or near normal, higher education was a sector. Tulane, Loyola, Dillard, Xavier, University of Holy Cross, SUNO, University of New Orleans, they all opened, had classes, and we're all here living to talk about it. Those leaders, Delgado as well, I don't want to ignore them, but I'm really primarily talking about residential campuses. Those higher education leaders deserve special kudos. And now the onus is on us is to understand that that's an industry that we have under-focused upon. We are a brain city. In the same way that people think of, eventually I would like to get this, people think of Cambridge, Massachusetts. What do you first think of Cambridge? You think of Harvard, MIT. You think of smart people and you want to be there. You want to be a part of that ethos. Well, I dare say we have over 30,000 young people engaged in some form of higher education in New Orleans. We have an obligation to begin to change the perception that, yeah, you can come and hang out. There's no better place in the world to hang and socialize in New Orleans. That's why this was so painful for us, because it attacked us at the core of who we are. But at the same point, we have to say to people, you don't have to turn off your brain to come to New Orleans. And the reason you want to be here, you want to move your company here, you want to grow your business here, is because you can do both. You can have that tremendous quality of life because of the tremendous quality of place. So in sum, bringing New Orleans more products of small businesses and other businesses to people so we're not so dependent or as dependent post this on having people come here, that's near term. Long term, the 10-year vision by 2030, when we're talking, we want to be able to say, we leverage our assets in bioinnovation, digital health to transform lives and begin to transform our economy. The second part of that is we want to attack and be a part of the solution of living with water, extreme weather, and climate change. And last, we want to lift up and figure out how to create greater jobs, greater small business entrepreneur opportunities, and procurement opportunities with our higher education community.
Well, I think it's very exciting, and I congratulate you and all of our executives for taking a difficult situation and finding the opportunity in it to help others and to move our region forward. And I'm excited to see that continue in 2021 and to see what NOLA BA comes out with. And thank you so much. And again, congratulations. We're honored to have you as our CEO of the year for 2020. Stephen Perry, CEO, New Orleans and Company. T. Martin and Lally Brennan, co-proprietors, Commander's Palace. Greg Fern, CEO, LCMC Health.
I ate out all the time before COVID. So I actually have been eating at home way more. And so I takeout now is a treat. And what I do, in fact, what I'm going to do today is Her Dat Kitchen in Central City. It is amazing. I'm going to get their Mardi Gras Mambo and their Dat fries and have that for lunch and dinner, probably because it's a really great helping. It's a really great portion.
I really like to cook, and so does my wife. So we don't do a ton of takeout. I guess my two go-tos are sushi from Hana, and you order from Tito's. It's a Peruvian restaurant. Magazine. That's probably my other more frequent one.
Favorite is the Gretna Farmers Market. You have to go on Saturday morning, but it's an unbelievable choice. It's a small farmers market, but you can get Vietnamese, French, And my personal favorite is the barbecue, the brisket, the whole slab of ribs. But Gretna Farmers Market on Saturday morning, it's worth getting up early. If you don't get up early, they'll sell out.
God, early in COVID, we were on like the sushi thing. So, and I never know exactly what I'm eating, but we would order sushi. It was good for a hot day sitting on the back porch, trying to get outside and get some fresh air. But we bounced around. I'm like, we live on the North Shore. I love Rusty Pelican. So it's a great little burger salad joint. So, but it seems like we were ordering a lot of sushi.
Right now, my favorite place for takeout is a cool place called Bachi Canteen. It's in the university area. It's on Maple Street in the Carrollton section of Uptown, and they're fantastic. So what I'm getting right now is the ramen. I'm getting it a ton, but honestly, everything on their menu is fantastic, and it's a lot of fun because we always order something slightly different, a little bit of a different wrinkle. 2 months ago, it would have been Barracuda, Mexican place, the taco stand on Chapatulas. A couple months before that, it might have been Mint or Pho Cam Lee. So it definitely changes. But right now, it's Bachi Canteen.
I can't say that I can identify one particular place. Given the fact that the New Orleans area has been hardest hit and we're known for our seafood, I actually frequented many seafood restaurants over this time period or over the last year. So I can't really identify one specific one. I just tried to eat seafood and tried to eat local often.
I have to say my favorite has actually been my own kitchen because I've been cooking more than ever. But where I live in the warehouse district, I have easy access to a lot of places. The Commissary by the Dickie Brennan, Lauren Brower, Steve Pettis group has been great for takeout. Restaurants like Pesh and Gianna, Merrill's and Sophia and Tommy's right around me. I mean, I have very lucky in that I don't even have to get in a car. I've got a less than 5-minute walk to tremendous restaurants.
Well, I'm a big fan. My go-to has been Rosedale, Susan Spicer's place.
So good, yeah.
And I mean, I'm crazy for it. She's got everything you can think of on the menu, and it changes all the time. So I'm just a huge fan there. I've done a lot of Saffron Nola. I love there so much. And then I have to get myself a little broccadas now and then. So I've done a bunch of that.
Well, I've kind of kept it all in the family, as they say. I've gone to picnic and gotten so many delicious things there. Pimento cheese, I adore. The crab dip, I adore. And the crab, the stuffed crab tea, I adore. I've gone to Ralph's on the Park and to Mr. B's. And then I shop local in the groceries, and I go to Lankenstein, and they're always got my back in those stores, and so that's, and then I've been cooking home a lot myself. So.
She's a hell of a cook.
Thank you for joining us in celebrating Biz New Orleans' 2020 Executives of the Year. On behalf of the entire Biz New Orleans team, I'd like to congratulate all of our executives. Though we could not celebrate in person, we hope to all join together in celebration soon. You can find a current copy of the January 2020 issue of Biz New Orleans magazine featuring all of our Executives of the Year on newsstands now and at bizneworleans.com.